London, September 1666. A hot, dry summer left wooden houses tinder dry. Narrow streets trapped the wind. No one knew that within hours, the city would face one of the greatest disasters in its history. At 1 o'clock, fire began in Thomas Farriner's bakery on Pudding Lane. Embers caught beams above the oven. The Farriner family escaped through a window, but the fire grew racing through nearby houses almost instantly. Strong winds from the east pushed flames across rooftops. Sparks flew like arrows. Within an hour, several streets burned fiercely. Neighbors formed bucket chains, but the fire moved faster than anyone could hope to fight. London's mayor, Sir Thomas Bloodworth, was called to the scene. Citizens begged to pull down houses to create fire breaks. He refused, fearing lawsuits. Bloodworth reportedly declared the fire so small a woman might piss it out. By morning, the fire stormed through Fish Street Hill and onto London Bridge. Warehouses along the Thames burned furiously. Stores of oil tar and rope exploded, turning the waterfront into a roaring inferno impossible to contain. Eyewitness Samuel Pepys recorded chaos. Families carried children, valuables, and pets into boats on the Thames. Crowds fled with carts piled high. Pepys wrote, "It made me weep to see houses burning on both sides." Church bells tolled frantically as alarms. Roofs collapsed into the streets. Lead melted running like rivers. Eyewitness John Evelyn described an arch of fire above the whole city, an overwhelming wall of flames stretching for miles. Rumors spread that French and Dutch arsonists had started the blaze. Londoners fearful from recent war with the Dutch attacked foreigners. Crowds accused strangers in the streets. Chaos mixed with fear made London even more dangerous. By the second night half, the city glowed red. Flames leapt from house to house. Sparks carried by wind ignited fires blocks away. The entire medieval heart of London seemed doomed to total destruction. Citizens begged for drastic action. Finally, King Charles II ordered soldiers to demolish houses in the fire's path. Explosives were used to create fire breaks. The desperate strategy slowed some flames, but most of London still burned. On September 3rd, St. Paul's Cathedral, London's greatest church, caught fire. Wooden scaffolding lit instantly. Flames climbed the ancient walls. The roof collapsed. Eyewitnesses described molten lead pouring into the streets, flowing like rivers from the tower. Booksellers lost thousands of manuscripts stored in St. Paul's. Priceless libraries vanished in minutes. John Evelyn wrote of the sight of that venerable pile now vanished in smoke and dust. London's spiritual heart was destroyed completely. Elsewhere, explosions shook warehouses along Thames Street. Barrels of pitch and gunpowder erupted violently. Fireballs shot into the air, spreading sparks across the river. Barges and ships caught fire. Flames spread from water as well as land. By September 4th, flames had consumed Cheapside, Ludgate, and Fleet Street. Witnesses described buildings collapsing with terrifying crashes. Stone cracked from the heat. Survivors staggered out, their faces blackened with soot coughing through the smoke. Over 400 acres burned simultaneously. Reports claimed the fire was visible from Oxford nearly 50 miles away. Smoke darkened the skies. Contemporary letters describe a pillar of flame rising above London seen for countless miles. Refugees crowded into moorfields and open spaces beyond the city walls. Families built makeshift shelters from sheets and timber. Pepys wrote of miserable cries of poor creatures echoing across the fields through nights of fire. Accusations of arson grew louder. Foreigners, Catholics, and political enemies were blamed. Prisoners were lynched. Authorities struggled to control mobs. The fire consumed homes, and paranoia consumed trust among London's desperate survivors. King Charles and his brother, the Duke of York, directed firefighting personally. They ordered wider demolitions, tearing down houses with explosives. For the first time, coordinated fire breaks slowed the blaze, though huge areas still vanished. By September 5th, the fire reached the edge of Whitehall. The king's palace was threatened. Soldiers fought furiously. At last, shifting winds and demolished fire breaks weakened the flames. Hope spread among exhausted citizens. After 4 relentless days, the Great Fire finally died. A city once proud now lay in ruins. Survivors stared at smoldering remains. 436 acres destroyed, 13 to 200 houses gone, 87 churches reduced to ash. Officially, only a handful of deaths were recorded. Yet many historians believe hundreds, perhaps thousands, perished. The fire's heat may have incinerated bodies entirely, leaving no remains to count. Official records understate the real tragedy. Around 70,000 of London's 80,000 citizens were left homeless. Moorfields, Islington, and fields beyond became camps of tents. Eyewitnesses describe entire families sleeping under carts, cooking in the open. London became a city of refugees. Merchants lost warehouses filled with cloth, sugar, spices, and tobacco. The Royal Exchange, Guildhall, and customs houses burned. London's financial heart collapsed. The economic damage spread far beyond the city walls, hurting all England. Amid the destruction, one irony emerged. The plague of 1665 had killed 100,000 the year before. Many believed the fire burned infected houses and cleansed the city. Was it divine punishment or divine mercy? Samuel Pepys noted both horror and hope. He described a miserable sight of desolation, yet also the king's promises to rebuild. Pepys's diary remains the most vivid testimony, capturing London's despair and determination. Foreign suspicion lingered. Anti-Catholic pamphlets claimed Jesuits set the fire. The monument built years later even bore an inscription blaming Popish treachery, until it was finally removed in the 19th century. Parliament declared national days of fasting. Citizens marched through ruined streets in prayer. The sense of punishment weighed heavy. But so too did the determination to rebuild. Ashes became the foundation of renewal. London's skyline was gone. The medieval city vanished. Streets of timber and thatch were replaced with rubble. Stone cellars stood exposed like tombs. Blackened chimneys marked where entire neighborhoods had once thrived. The human toll lasted longer than fire. Families uprooted, businesses, bankrupt communities scattered. Survivors carried trauma for generations. Children grew old, still retelling how London was burned to the ground in my youth. Out of devastation rose resilience. London prepared to rebuild stronger. The Great Fire was both catastrophe and catalyst. In ruins lay the blueprint of a new city. Architect Christopher Wren presented visionary plans. Grand boulevards, piazzas, a city like Paris or Rome. His designs promised beauty and order. But practical needs and property disputes forced compromises. Dreams collided with messy reality. Nevertheless, rebuilding was swift. New regulations required brick and stone instead of timber. Thatch roofing was banned. Streets widened. Fire prevention became central to London's design. A safer, more modern city began to emerge. St. Paul's Cathedral rose again under Wren's design. The new dome dominated the skyline. Its survival today symbolizes London's rebirth, a phoenix rising directly from the ashes of 1666's inferno. A monument was built on Pudding Lane, where the fire began. Standing 202 feet tall, its golden orb still shines. It remains the tallest isolated stone column in the world, a permanent reminder of catastrophe. The cost of rebuilding was immense. Taxes, loans, and royal funds supported reconstruction. Many Londoners struggled, yet trade revived. Merchants returned, rebuilding shops and warehouses. Commerce slowly replaced ruins with opportunity. The fire inspired innovation. Insurance companies were created to protect property owners. Fire brigades developed learning from disaster. Out of failure came systems that shaped modern urban safety. London healed slowly, but scars remained. Generations whispered stories of the fire. Myths and legends grew, blending fact and memory. The city carried both trauma and pride in survival. The Great Fire was catastrophe, but also transformation. Medieval London was gone. In its place stood a new city, safer, stronger, and ready for the future. Today, the monument still towers above London. Visitors climb its 311 steps, gazing over a city reborn. Each stone tells the same story: destruction, resilience, and rebirth. Samuel Pepys and John Evelyn captured the fire in words. Their diaries let us walk streets of flame centuries later. Memory preserved what ashes consumed. The Great Fire is more than history. It is a scar etched into London's identity, a disaster so vast it shaped the city that rose after it. Plague, fire, war. London endured them all. Each trial reshaped the city, forging resilience. From devastation, London always found renewal. The fire reminds us of fragility, how quickly pride can fall, how easily fortune can turn to ash. Yet it also reminds us of strength. London burned, but it rebuilt, stone by stone, house by house, until life returned. And so the Great Fire endures, as warning as memory as triumph. London burned, but London lives.